May the words of my mouth and the meditations of all of our hearts be pleasing to you, O God, our rock and our Redeemer. As a pastor, I have the privilege of being with people in their moments of intense joy, when they feel found, when they feel embraced and loved and known. And I have the honor of being with people in the moments that are most devastating, in the moments of trauma, in the moments when they feel completely lost and like there is no way back to God, no way back to themselves, no way back to hope. I've been thinking a lot this week of all of the different ways we might end up finding ourselves lost. But let's think first about the little lamb in Jesus' parable. Here we have this little sheep, and it's somehow gotten separated from its flock, which is essentially a death sentence for a prey animal. The sheep is wandering an unfamiliar territory, probably stumbling, becoming injured, its lamb's fur getting tangled in the weeds and bramble as it seeks desperately for somewhere to hide from the predators. It can't even bleat out a cry for help because to do so would be to reveal its location to all that might want to harm it. And so it is helpless, crouched, hoping to be found. Or let's think about that coin that has gone lost. Inanimate, it is unable to call out. It is unable to do anything to aid in its journey to be found again and reunited with its other coins. It must just wait in its dusty corner to be found. Well, so often that is where we find ourselves too. I'm thinking this week of those I know personally who have suffered terrible deaths of loved ones, or people who have received devastating news about their health, people battling chronic illnesses that have changed their lives forever, people suffering ruptures in relationships that make it feel like the world will never be the same again, people despairing for so many different reasons. I'm thinking too of those in Evergreen this week who lost so many. It's lost their sense of safety, lost their sense of hope because of gun violence. And I'm thinking, of course, of the other 47 school shootings that have happened just this year alone, not even to mention the many other years and all of the other gun violence. I'm thinking of the loved ones of those who have been lost to political violence. Charlie Kirk this week, Melissa Hortman and Mark Hortman, who were assassinated in June. So many others who have been gunned down because of what they believe and what they speak. In a world like this, it can feel like complete loss, like there is no longer hope, that we're not going to be found again. And yet, the parables are really clear this week, that God is not like that shepherd who says, well, one animal lost out of 99, out of 100, that's collateral damage, that's the cost of doing business. Instead, God goes crawling through the bramble. God goes seeking out that one little sheep. God notices out of that horde of sheep that one little lamb who has gotten lost. And God doesn't need the bleating, doesn't need the cry for help to find that little lamb. God is like the woman who is not content to just have her 9 coins, but believes that 10th coin matters too, and goes and turns her house upside down, looking through every corner, sweeping and sweeping until she finds that coin as well. That is the kind of God we have. I've been thinking about those who are victims of violence and thinking about the way I know God cares for them, the way God brings them to God's self, despite the pain they have suffered. And I am also thinking of those who have become so twisted, so hateful, so lost to violence that they themselves have become violent. They themselves have inflicted pain. And we know from our message in 1 Timothy that even they are not beyond God's mercy. We have Paul, who was once Saul. He was twisted beyond measure, beyond recognition by his violence, his hatred, his belief that he was so right, his zeal that he went out and hunted down those he disagreed with. He went out and had them imprisoned and tortured and killed. He was not looking for God. He was certain he was in the right. And yet God found him and God transformed him. Even he who did not know he was lost was found by God and transformed. In a world where it seems like there is more of being lost than being found sometimes, we need this hope. We need to believe that Jesus knows us each by name. Jesus notices when we go missing. Jesus doesn't even need us to call out, please come help me, because Jesus is already on his way, searching on his knees when he needs to, going through those brambles, going through every corner of the house, looking and looking for us to bring us back into the fold. Today is Holy Cross Sunday. Today is a day when we remember the cross, when we remember that God is so intent on finding each one of us, that God would come down and give God's self in an act of extraordinary love that none of us can even begin to fathom. On that cross, stretching his arms wide enough to bring all into his embrace. We live in a world where we tend to believe that certain people are expendable. We tend to believe that certain people are beyond hope. Sometimes we believe we ourselves are expendable or beyond hope. But that is not what God believes. And in a world where too often we turn to violence, whether in our words or in our hearts, or in actual violence that harms others, we need to begin to see with God's eyes, to see one another, to see even those who we think are the problem, even those who have been twisted by violence and hatred, as those that God seeks out, as those who God's mercy is reaching for. We need to know that God and God's love are coming for us. And we need to seek to be that community, to be those people who can receive those lost, that God has come to seek and save. He came to seek and save the lost parts of ourselves, the lost parts of our world, the lost parts of our communities. We have a chance to be something different. We have a chance to believe that no one is expendable, that everyone matters to our God, that we can hope, and that we can be found ourselves, knowing that this world is not beyond repair, but that God is searching after it with a love that will never end. Amen.